Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to us from. We're so happy to have you back.
Hi, everyone. This is your special guest, Rebecca, aka Bex. Thank you for tuning in to The Light. I'm so happy to be back.
Happy New Year, everyone. We're here again with a very special topic for your interest, for learning, and for you to better your life. Because there's one thing that I do believe that all of us get through in this life, and that is decision making. Most of the time, where people make serious decisions in their lives and think about a lot of things, it's like decision making is inevitable. You cannot hide it.
Yeah.
You have to always engage in it. So let's get right into it,
All right.
and see what we can learn from this. So let me ask, what is decision making, or what does it mean to make a decision?
I feel like making a decision is really simple in its terms, where essentially you make a choice of what you want to do. And so that could be a choice of going to a certain school, that could be the choice of what to eat, or that could be anything ranging from anything big to anything small. And that obviously that is relative. But when you go into take a deeper dive into making decisions, Google lets us know that there are 7 steps to effective decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I'll just give a little rundown or just give a little idea. So, just so our viewers or our listeners can understand that I feel like these steps are very practical and they're very relatable. And I feel like there's something that we could all use in our daily lives. And maybe not specifically these 7 steps in the correct order, but
Mm-hmm.
just,
Mm-hmm.
if we gauge in and you're like, okay, I follow these steps and now I'm ready to make the decision. So, first, Google lets us know that you identify the decision. So, let's say we have the topic of going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when we hit the age of 18, sometimes our parents are like, you can save money, stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
there are other parents who are ready to let their parents to
Mm-hmm.
let their kids go abroad and go away for school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Me, on the other hand,
I can imagine. I was going to ask, how about you?
me, on the other hand, my mom said, you are going to stay home, you are going to save money. But I was so ready to go away for school. So, first, to make this decision, I identified the decision. So, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go away for school. Number two, you gather information. And so, in order for me to say I want to go to school, I need to make sure I know what the school is about. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Mm-hmm.
know if this is the right school for me. So you go and gather the information. You see if I went to Brock University, by the way. So
Mm-hmm.
we got to
Mm-hmm.
see if
Mm-hmm.
the school is the right choice for you. And then you identify alternatives. In my case, the alternative was to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's either I go to Brock University or I stay home and save money. This is the point in time where you look at the pros and cons, and
Mm-hmm.
then you
Mm-hmm.
see whether it's a good idea to go away for school or it's a good idea for you to stay home. Number four, you weigh the evidence. So now you look to see if what you're looking at makes sense. Are you being reasonable? Are you making the right choice? You're not just going to look at it and turn a blind side because you're looking at it just from purely feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we really want to go away for school because we're 18, we want to have that independence, but look at the evidence and see what makes sense for you to do. Does it make sense for you to save money, or does it make sense for you to go out and have that independence and also
Mm-hmm.
gain that education? Number five, you choose among the alternatives. So you look at for my case, which would be staying home,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess other options would be to choose another school that's probably nearby, so
Mm-hmm.
that it's like, okay, I'm closer to home, I'm not spending that much money because I could go to and from, so I could go to York,
Right.
something like that. So that would be my alternative. And then you take action. So that's number six. So you would then choose. And in my case, I chose to go away because that made the most sense to me. And
Mm-hmm.
thankfully,
Mm-hmm.
my parents were very supportive in my decision. And I was able to graduate by God's grace. And
Mm-hmm.
then lastly, number seven, you review your decisions. So before I was even able to go to school, I made sure for me as a Christian, I took it to God in prayer and let God know that thank you for allowing me to make this decision and have this idea in my head. And God, I won't let you down. Thank you for bringing me here. And, if non-Christians or Christians, however you want to deal with it, that's the last step. You review your decision and,
Mm-hmm.
you conclude it all.
Yeah, thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing with us the importance and of taking these steps.
Yeah.
Maybe I would probably put the category of what you just discussed as a major decision making.
Yes.
How do I make a smart decision?
Yeah.
Something like maybe what type of charger I should buy,
Yes,
or
yes.
food to eat. Should I eat junky food today, or something more healthy? How do I
Exactly.
make such a decision?
Exactly. Yes, I was thinking about that. I know something that's pretty small, like what food should I eat today?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I feel like that it's all relative, but for me personally, I look at it as what is my gut telling me to do today. Sometimes we often feel like humans, we have these little powers that we're like, okay, my intuition's telling me to take that today, so like I'm
Yeah.
gonna take that, so I really rely heavily on my gut and whatever my hand goes towards first, or
Mm-hmm,
whatever my eye is craving, whatever my mouth is craving, whatever,
mm-hmm,
you know I don't let that hinder my choice too
mm-hmm,
heavily.
mm-hmm.
But when we go into the bigger decisions, I feel like that takes guts, but it also takes a lot more power in a
And
different way.
process.
Yes, in a
Mm-hmm.
different process. And so,
Yeah.
major difference between small and bigger decisions. But I would say one of them that's they coincide with each other would be a little bit of a gut feeling. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think is the best? And that's how you even come up with the idea to
Yeah.
choose
Yeah.
between the two
And
options.
I think some people, let me put it this way, that what is small, what is big can be relative, because for somebody maybe making a decision to choose what to eat is
Yes.
it's a burden for
Yes.
them, because sometimes it impacts their health.
Yes.
And
yes.
so they're tempted to eat something that they're not supposed to eat. And so now they may probably have to go through all the 7 steps to make such a decision.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
let's put it that way, that what is small for me may be bigger for you, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
ultimately, there should be a small decision to make
Yes.
compared to if you're purchasing something huge
Yes.
that requires credit card and other things that you're supposed to get through.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
That's great. And I know there's a lot of things, we just use eating as an example, but there
Mhm.
are so many things that we all go through in life that we have to decide or choose something about. As we all know that we make decisions almost every minute of our lives. Let me ask this question: how does making decision affects our relationship with God and others? Do I have to take into consideration God and the people around me when I'm making decision, whether it being small or whether it being big?
So, first, we could talk about God, of course. In terms of making decisions and how it affects our relationship with God, I think it can go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can make the decision to follow Christ, and that's positive. You can
Mm-hmm.
make the decision not to read your Bible and not have a closer connection with God, and that's, obviously, to me, that would be negative because you're not deciding to commune with your Maker and
Mhm.
commune with the person who guides you each and every day. And so, it could affect your relationship both negatively and positively. And I
Mhm.
think it's important to make note of that, because sometimes we think of our relationship with God and we think about how we can only make it negative, or we can only make it positive, but it can honestly go
Be
both
both.
ways.
Mhm.
Yes. And so it's just important to note that other ways that we can affect our relationship positively with God is not only realizing that our conversations have to be with Him only,
Mhm.
but communing with our fellow members here on earth. And so the Bible makes us understand that what we did for our friends here on earth, we also
Mhm.
did for God. And
Right.
so it positively affects our relationship with Him, and shows Him that we care for the people that He created on here on this earth, and we treat
Mhm.
them like our brothers and sisters. And negatively, as a Christian, I feel like it's very important to make fellowship something that's important in your life,
Mhm.
and so if
Mhm.
we choose not to fellowship, then where do we get our recharge? I know I talked about this previously, but I really love the concept of going to church to recharge and
Mhm.
gain that
Mhm.
spiritual
Mhm.
knowledge that you may not get anywhere else. And having that in church, you just have that bond with Christ.
Right.
So
Mhm.
when we go to church, we can just reset our brains, reset our mindsets
Mhm.
into what we were doing 6 days of the week, as opposed to that one day.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that's, I feel like you can impact your relationship positively or negatively with God. And when it comes to others, I feel like it's the same way as well. same things that we may be doing with God, not having that relationship with Him or
Right.
communicating with Him, is the same way we can impact our relationship with others as well. And so, for example, if you have a friend and you don't communicate or you don't talk to them as often, then
Yeah.
that's your decision. That was your choice
Mm-hmm.
not to keep up with that friendship. Some
Mm-hmm.
people may be going through something, and you not speaking to them, or you making decision to, okay, I'll talk to them tomorrow, I'll talk to them the next day. That
Mm-hmm.
could impact
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
friendship. It's
Mm-hmm.
every day we live and every day we breathe, we make a choice
Yeah.
to do so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, when you sit and think about it, you don't realize that we're making a choice every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we think about the decisions that we make each and every day, we don't know how powerful those choices
Wow.
could be in our lives.
Wow.
And so we really need to take a step back and think
Mm-hmm.
that, yes,
Mm-hmm.
we are humans, but our choices are very powerful.
Wow. On the other side of going back to like you going to school way,
Yes.
I'm thinking about that and I'm like trying to consider how it would even impact your relationship with God. Imagine
Yeah.
that going into that school and the culture and where you will live, the friends you will make, the places they would want you to go. That could influence your relationship with Christ if
Absolutely.
not family or quite carefully discussed
Yes.
or focused on.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it too is, let's say you had a close friend here
Mm-hmm.
who always liked being with you and hanging out with you, and now you decide to go away. And perhaps you don't tell them, or you don't even discuss with them, or you don't make them aware. It can impact your relationship with them. It can really impact your relationship with them. So I believe that, as you mentioned, whether negatively or positively, we always need to include God
Yes.
and include our relationship with the people that may be impacted by the decision that we're making.
Yeah.
Especially if you're married, of course, you know that you need to consider your spouse, and
Yeah.
if you have kids, your children,
Yes.
to make sure that the decision that you're making are positive and has a greater and well impact
Mm-hmm.
on their lives.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we become selfish where we are only narrow-minded to ourselves,
Yeah.
and we're saying this is me and I would do it this way,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't remember and think about what others
Yes.
may also
Yes.
go through.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
remember, at the end of the day, we are influencers.
Mm-hmm.
We may not be YouTube influencers, but we are life influencers based on the decisions that we make.
That's so true.
Maybe somebody have made a decision, and in this case it was good or bad. You made a decision, you went through all the steps, you reviewed it, and you realize, man, I have made a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Or you make a decision and you're like, wow, this is so wonderful. How do you learn from such an experience?
Yeah. So when I was mentioning the 7 steps, there was one that very last step says to review your decision. I feel like that's something that you constantly need to do, especially when it comes to bigger decisions. Of course, I wouldn't necessarily say to look at this step when you're looking for what to eat, because for me personally, I would say that when it comes to bigger decisions, I feel like I will be constantly reviewing that decision.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that I ultimately made the correct choice. And so when you take a step back, I feel like as humans, we deal with something and then we push it to the side. We then we think, okay, it's all done with. But like I said, every day we wake up and make a decision. And so when we wake up one day and we think about the choice that we made, we can think, okay, this was ultimately the good choice. Or this is something that maybe I can do better next time. We can't necessarily just look at something that we've done and just push it to the side, because it impacts us every day. We may not know that the decision we make today can actually impact us 7 years later. But if we don't think about it like that, then we're thinking, okay, we're all well and done, we can just push this aside and make the next decision on the menu, But when we constantly review, our minds are constantly on it, then we can realize that at any point in time, the decision that we make can impact someone. For example, when we go away for school, right? For now, as a child, when you're 18, you're thinking, okay, this is the best decision. I'm away from family.
18 years as a child? You'll fight you, okay?
That's true. 18-year-old, sorry, we're not children. You guys are not children. But when you think about it, you're like, okay, I'm ready to move out. I want to be independent. That choice that you made right then may not impact you until when you're 22. Now you're
Mhm.
looking, or even the next year when
Yeah.
you're 19 and you're now looking for jobs and realize that you can only work when you come back home for the
Mhm.
summer.
Mhm.
You're not realizing that that decision that you made to have your
Mhm.
independence or your freedom
Mhm.
was just for then.
Yes.
What about when you come back and when you're 19, 20, 21, 22, you're
Mhm.
ready to start
Mhm.
your career and everything like that. And sometimes it's a hindrance because you're away for 8 months and then you come back for 4 months.
Right.
Sometimes
Mhm.
it impacts you. So when you constantly review your choices, you realize that sometimes the decision you made wasn't the best,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
sometimes the decision you made was the greatest.
Mhm.
So when
Mhm.
you constantly think about that and realize that we can't just push our big decisions like that to the side. We
Mhm.
gotta
Mhm.
realize that it's a constant thing. We need to make sure that as humans, as adults, young adults, we make life-changing decisions, and we need to make sure that we have that consciously in our minds all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think one thing that I am putting on my mind, like
Hmm.
from today going, and thank you so much for sharing them,
No problem.
is reviewing
Yeah.
the decisions.
Yeah.
Because most people don't like reviewing what they have decided to do.
Sometimes you're scared that you made a mistake.
I know, right? And just as you've mentioned, when you're able to review and
Yeah.
review and review, you're able to understand where it went wrong
Yeah.
and possibly correct it,
For the next time.
and
Yeah.
even give counsel
Yeah.
to people who are in the same stage of their life.
Absolutely.
All right. I am sure that now you can give a lot of advice to your younger self or your
Yes.
younger siblings,
Yes, absolutely.
who may be intending to go away based on the decisions that you made. They have their choice to
Of
choose
course. Of course.
when you give them the counsel.
Yes.
But with that experience, as you learn from it, you'll be able to share that with other people. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I really always want to learn from my decisions, especially the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
Man, why did I do this? I know people regret about relationships,
Yeah.
but we're not going to talk about that today. But anyway, learn from whatever you decide on, which impacts your life, and make better decisions if it was the worst, and then keep the same decision or advance it if it was the best.
Yes.
All right. As we wrap it up here, I would like us to focus on a couple of things here that really requires our decision. How do I make a decision on my career, or purchasing something quite expensive, or relationship? How do I actually do that?
Yeah. So when we look at career,
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, growing up, I was so interested in just language and how
Mm-hmm.
people use their language, how people communicate,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be through sign language, verbal, gestural, whatever the case may be. It was very interesting to me how even languages, like
Mm-hmm.
what I say to you in trees, someone walking on the street may not understand,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that people can communicate in different ways was something that sparked my interest. And so when you look at things that are interesting to you, you can kind of make a career out of that,
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like it's an important, when you're making your decision about your career, you look at things that you're really interested in, because you don't want to go into a career that
Mm-hmm.
just generates money. You
Right.
don't want to look at just the financial aspect. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, that is important, but
Mm-hmm.
at some point you're
Yeah.
gonna dread it. And so when you look at your passion will always override everything else. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you have that passion, you will continue to push forward, even on days where you feel like you are very tired, you do not want to go anywhere, knowing that you are changing lives, impacting lives, you are doing something that's good
Mm-hmm.
and of passion to you, then it's always going to be your drive to, or motivation to go to work. So
Mm-hmm.
making that career choice is, I feel like, is very important, using your interest and your passion. When it comes to making big purchases, honestly, Pastor, I am not the best one to talk about this, but I feel like it's so important to understand. I have friends who or someone important to me who always tells me, "Do you really need this?
Mm-hmm. Do you really need
Do you
this?
really need it?" And I'm like, "Yes, I need it."
We buy a lot of wants,
Yes,
not a lot of
I
needs.
buy a lot of wants, absolutely.
Mm.
But I think we need to understand that making big purchases like that, you kind of need to take a step back,
Maybe go
realize
through the 7 steps.
that absolutely that is the big decision making for me.
Yeah,
For someone
yeah.
else, maybe that's not as big, but for me,
Mhm.
I definitely need to go through the 7 steps. And so I feel like with that, I need to take a step back and realize that some things are absolutely not a need. I really don't need it. I'm not saying it's not good to spoil yourself. I absolutely do
Mhm.
think that, but sometimes we have to make a decision, and a wise one,
Mm-hmm.
a wise financial decision, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we really don't need it. And so yeah, what is your take, Pastor?
Well, I think I would just add to the career side, and
Yeah.
I know someday we will talk about your career. But maybe I'll also ask you before we end how
Mhm.
you finally chose to be in the profession that you are in right now. But one thing I'll add to the to making a decision in the career, we have the benefit of knowing the future when we haven't been in the future
Mm.
when we're talking about career.
Mm.
What I mean by that is you have people that are in the field that you want to be in.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we worry so much about having many options. There's no issue, or it's not wrong to have many options or choices or things that you may want to engage in your life. It is okay if you're interested in being a teacher. It's okay if you're interested in being a doctor, a lawyer, a carpenter, a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about what people are doing, ask them questions, and then go through the steps that you gave to us today. And I know
Yeah.
you list them again
Yes.
before we close
Yes.
to help people make their decisions. Once you have these options and you weigh the pros and cons on each of them,
Yeah.
and this is where the decision that you make influence people. I know this is a big thing. Somebody wants to be a doctor, but their parents wants them to be a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody wants to be a teacher, their parents want them to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Your decision is going to impact your relationship with them, and
Yeah.
I have a big testimony of
Yes.
that. Maybe that will be another topic for another day.
Absolutely.
But the most important thing is always consider your relationship with God when you're making that career decision,
Absolutely.
and people around you. But ultimately, it is you who are going to get engaged in the profession or the career that you want to embark on.
Yeah.
Have your vision, have your long-term goals. Ask yourself where you want to be at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and that will help you to make that right decision.
I
Big
agree.
purchases, you got to take your time.
Yes.
Take your time. You know, we're talking about buying cars or houses or maybe shoes, because shoes are big purchases for some people.
Yes.
Whatever it is that is quite extensive and very expensive as well, you would want to take your time and ask yourself if you need them or if you just want them.
If you just want them.
And
yeah.
then with going through the steps, doing the assessment of the importance of it, then it will probably change your life.
Right.
But
Right.
let me get back to you. How did you come to decide in a minute or two
Mm-hmm.
to basically come up with the profession that you are in today?
Yeah.
How did you arrive?
Yeah.
Did you add options? And then once you finish that, you can add the steps just for people who are out there to help them make their decisions.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, I did not use these 7 steps thing.
You just found out.
I just found it. But honestly, to
I just
make
found
a long
out too.
yeah.
I never knew that. You know? Mhm.
To make a long story short, I essentially, like I was mentioning before, I looked at what my interest was.
Mhm.
I realized I wanted to I want to help people
Mhm.
in the healthcare field and change lives, in a certain way. But I couldn't deal with the idea of blood or broken bones. So
Mhm.
I knew
Mhm.
I knew I want to help people, but the hospital route was just not my route that I could take. It just was not for me. And so when I looked at other things that I was interested in, which was speech, I realized that I could help people who may have difficulty with stuttering or
Mm.
articulation or whatever the case may be. And so as I grew older, I realized there was a profession for it. And like you mentioned, when you look at other people who have paved the way, who have done it before, I looked at people in our church who not necessarily deal with speech, but deal with audiology.
Mhm.
And what you hear also impacts your speech. And so when
Mhm.
I had a conversation with them, they were able to shed light on the speech world. And so
Mhm.
that's how
Mhm.
essentially I came up with the decision to be a future speech language pathologist. And
Amen.
yeah, and that was the decision. But just to wrap it up, the 7 steps to effective decision making is 1, identify the decision. Number 2, gather information. Number 3, identify alternatives. Number 4, weigh the evidence. Number 5, choose among alternatives. Number 6, take action. And lastly, number 7, review your decision.
Review.
Yes,
That is
very,
the
very
most important
important.
thing for me. I think you should review every step before you get to the review part.
Exactly. Review times 7.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Becky, for this. One day we'll have an interview about your profession and then ask you more questions about that.
No problem.
But thank you again for today.
Thank
and
you for having me.
We hope that those who have to make some decisions, whether big or small, whether about purchases or relationship or career. But
Yes.
thank you if you got a chance to join us today. This is Living in God's Hope and Truth Delight, and we always keep it 100 for you. See you again next time on our next episode. God bless.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.